people that he trusts, and he wants to summon the country to his cause. We're going to toss it now.
I think it's pretty
to
cool.
World News Tonight anchor David
At
Muir,
the
own
moment
Lindsay
they
Davis,
are
and
about
the
to
team
go
for
to
the
the
special
speech, they're
coverage
actually showing the
of the
protesters
State of the
outside.
Union address. Stay tuned.
Tonight, President Biden's State of the Union address, his message to America and to the world.
ABC News special, The State of the Union.
At the end of the day, we know who we work for.
Epic.
The objective is to get things done.
Great
Tonight,
quote.
how will President Biden address the key issues facing our nation? The battle over the border,
It's real simple. It's time to act. It's long past time to act.
the economy, and jobs.
Nearly 15 million new jobs since I came to office.
But why are so many Americans not feeling it? The wars
Maybe because the dude's
overseas,
asleep at the wheel.
Israel and Gaza, Ukraine and Russia.
Before this started, they're like filming him going to the White House. Their commentary is so funny because he's like pumping his fist. They're like, "Oh, he's got the fist pump," and as you can see, he's old as fuck. You know, this is what we were told: is that he's gotten older, so he has had more trouble walking.
Before a joint session of Congress, the American people and the world, the president.
I have never been more optimistic in my life about the prospects, what we can do if we just work together.
The mix on this is so funny. Bring the music down if you're going to have a mumbling on the quotes, guys.
Good evening from the nation's capital tonight. President Biden is just moments away from delivering his State of the Union address to the American people and, of course, to the world. He comes before the country tonight at a
For all
high
we know,
moment in his
that's what he
presidency.
said.
Questions
Because
about his age, his
we could
rematch
barely
against
hear
Donald
that.
Trump now underway, with Trump set to clinch the Republican nomination after a near sweep on Super Tuesday this week. The national polling showing this is already a very close race.
For the
with Donald
Supreme
Trump
Court
in the lead.
justices didn't
We
show
have a
up, and I
powerhouse
just think
political
that's
team
funny.
right here with me tonight, and as you can see, the chamber already filling with lawmakers. The president's cabinet, members of the Supreme Court just moments ago coming in to the chamber. We saw Chief Justice John Roberts, Justice Sotomayor, Kagan, Justice Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, retired Justice Kennedy also there, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson also in attendance there tonight. And they're playing a role, as you know, in this presidential election, whether they would like to or not. Just this week, we saw them make that decision involving Donald Trump to keep him on the ballot across this country, saying Colorado could not take him off the ballot. They'll then take up another issue in the coming weeks about presidential immunity when it comes to. You can see George Santos is actually there in the chamber as well. We'll get to why he's there coming up here in our coverage. Of course, he was expelled by the House.
Yeah, any
so,
member
the
who's
question
ever
you might be
been
asking at home
a
is,
member
what
of
is he doing
Congress
there?
can
So
show
we'll
up.
ask our team
Of
right
course
here.
he's there.
We're expecting the
Because-
First Lady, Dr.
because he
Jill
did that
Biden,
interview.
any moment. Of course, the
Right,
First Lady
and he
is
literally
giving these
admitted, "You
speeches
keep
always
giving me attention, that's why I won't go away." So then after that, nobody gave him attention, so here he is desperately coming back, trying to get attention.
speaking to a deeply divided nation, and at the same time well aware that this is also kickstarting his re-election campaign. His every move tonight, his every
And the
word, his
gutless
energy
local news is
will
going to,
be
of
closely
course, be
studied amid
filming him
questions about his
because
age and whether
why
voters will
not?
give him a second term. The president's message tonight will focus on immigration, the southern border, abortion rights, the economy, millions of new jobs, wage growth, the stock market reaching new highs. But the president, this White House, well aware many Americans are still not feeling this. Rachel Scott is in the House chamber tonight. Rachel, what is the mood? And we understand that the Speaker of the House, who, by the way, will be the third speaker to stand behind President Biden for a State of the Union, has asked the House chamber, asked his colleagues
awesome.
to be respectful.
Exactly, David. This is going to be
It's,
a high
what's
stakes
his
address
name?
for the president. And
Gary
we mentioned
Busey,
it when
bro.
President Biden
Where
enters
did he
this
come
chamber
from?
tonight. He'll be passing through what he knows is a deeply divided Congress, split on everything from immigration to funding for Ukraine. Inside of the chamber right now is a sea of white. Democrats wearing that color to show support for reproductive rights
And gray hair.
It's an issue we know the president will be putting front and center in his address tonight. Now, some members are also wearing tags with the number 153 on it. A member telling us that's the number of days since Israel was attacked by Hamas. Those tags are to show support for the Israeli hostages. And of course,
Cringe.
you mentioned it, David, right behind the president tonight, a
Cringe.
different and new Speaker of the
That's
House,
what I'm talking
Mike
about.
Johnson. He has been urging his Republican members to be respectful and civil tonight, saying
I think the main reason they're like, "Oh, we're going to wear white," in
way
favor
into
of
the chamber, he told
abortion
us
is
that everyone will
because
be on their
last
best behavior,
year
but
they
David,
had
we'll have to
Marjorie
see
Taylor
whether or not that
Greene
actually
dressed like a
happens.
baboon
Speaker
screeching
Johnson
at
holding an
Biden, and they
off-the-record
just
meeting
didn't want
with,
that again,
reporters
so
and
they said
bankers
no
here in
white
Washington today. We can't get into
for
the
them.
details.
It'll
We
look like they're
appreciate the fact that they
pro-abortion
invite
if
us
they
in
wear it.
on the days of these big speeches, the president as well. But one thing Speaker Johnson did not mind us sharing, John, is his concern that this remain respectful tonight, hoping to uphold
Kamala was
the
throwing
great
shade at
traditions of
Johnson
these
real
State of the
hard right
Unions.
there. Well, he looked like he was trying to
civility
shatter up.
in the chamber. He wants decorum in the chamber. He has sent that message
Who
out.
cares?
And some of his members have received
Look,
it
he's got the
skeptically.
Israel pin on.
I mean,
Epic.
remember how raucous it was last year?
And in fact, Marjorie Taylor Greene, when pressed on this today, said, well, we'll just wait and see what the president has to say.
Wow,
So
this
we're watching
this
that. We
literally
saw the
feels like a
image of
cocktail
George
party for
Santos
the
there
elites
moments
right
ago. I
now.
want to bring Rachel Scott back in because, Rachel, the
This
obvious
guy's
question
asleep.
for people watching at home is,
Wake
what
up.
is he doing there?
Quick, oh, we got him.
Exactly.
We woke him up.
Many Americans may be remembering that Congressman George Santos was expelled from the House.
Who
He's facing
the
23
fuck
counts accused
cares?
of everything from credit card fraud to identity theft, lying to federal officials. He was expelled
Oh,
by
Jack,
his own fellow
it's-
members who
it's
called
pretty
him
early
a
for Jack
disgrace.
right
Well,
now.
he decided to show back up today. As
He's
a
like, he
reminder
goes to
here,
the gym
former
around this
members
time,
do
so.
have privileges to be on the House floor, and Santos has kept his floor privileges despite being expelled. So he is allowed to be inside of the chamber tonight. I am spotting him right now. He is standing in the back here. He's not seated down with his former colleagues at all. He's standing in the back by congressional aides where Senate pages are standing right now. But he is inside of the chamber for this State of the Union address tonight, David.
So bottom line, you're welcome to the chamber, even if you're expelled.
You are welcomed into the chamber, even if you are expelled. The House rules actually say nothing about that at all. You are not allowed back in the
Who
chamber
cares?
if you've been convicted of a crime or if you were a lobbyist. But the bottom line, even as a former member of the House
Yeah,
that has been
That's
expelled
true. Gym
by his
memberships are
colleagues,
fast.
he is
I
allowed
heard.
to be here for the State of the Union address.
And
tonight, David.
ableist.
Extraordinary. It's 2024 in America. You saw that shot there of Senator Bernie
All
Sanders
of
there a
this
moment
just
ago,
because
one
he
of
was
the
too
many
fat to ride a
voices,
roller coaster.
offering advice, counsel to the White House, to President Biden, the Biden campaign.
The
Mary,
Biden
the
border
president, just
crisis.
moments
Oh
ago
my
saying
God.
he's feeling
Look at
good
how
as
many
he headed to
pieces
the
of
Capitol
flair
from the
these
White House.
people
Mary Bruce, our
need.
chief White House correspondent.
This is getting so
it's really hard
tacky.
to underscore just how significant this night will be for President Biden.
This is a huge and massively critical and pivotal moment for this president. He knows it. The White House knows it. The campaign
Where's Jasmine
certainly
Crockett?
knows it. Look, he is down in the polls to Donald Trump. He is facing these persistent concerns about his age. He certainly knows well that everyone is paying attention tonight, not just to what he is saying, but to how he is saying it. His challenge here is now to take advantage of this massive audience, perhaps the largest he'll have all year, to try and change the public perception. He has to sell skeptical voters on his accomplishments and also show the American people that he is up for another 4 years. I mean, bottom line, he has to bring it in this speech. Now, the campaign feels that at this point in the campaign that the American people aren't truly dialed into the race, that they haven't fully
Oh my
registered
God.
yet that we're heading
I
for
hate
this
this shit
Biden-Trump
so much.
rematch.
That
They
they
know
like want to
these
treat
men,
it so much
but the
like
Biden
it's
team feels the
football.
American people are suffering from what they call Trump amnesia. This is the president's chance to change some of that. I'm told he won't
They
call
call
out
it
Donald
Trump
by name,
amnesia.
but
Shut
it'll be
up.
very clear
Shut the fuck
who he is
up.
talking about as he lays out their very different visions for the future of this country, David.
So,
This
Mary,
guy
not
rules.
expected to draw on Donald Trump's name during this speech, but very likely to draw on contrasts between these two
the
men.
sigh and
As he
everything,
moves
man.
to the
Talk about
90s.
a
My
guy who
understanding,
hates
he wants
his
to do
job.
it while at the same time respecting the chamber.
He has to strike the right tone here. First of all, remember, this is a
Jack went into a
format
rage
which Joe
again
Biden
and
is
smashed his
very
computer.
comfortable.
True.
He relished his time in the Senate and in Congress. He feels very comfortable in this environment, and he certainly respects Congress. And he also wants to strike a respectful tone, even as he is going to pressure Republicans to
Paxton
call them
knows.
out on certain issues, especially on things like
He was
immigration.
just,
He also, of course,
you
is
know
doing
that
this
guy
at a time
fucking
that
is
he's
just
trying
the
to
elitist
court
who never shows up
Republican
to the
voters to come
vote.
to his side.
Second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, entering the chamber. The Vice President, Kamala
cares?
Harris, up there. She'll stand behind the president, as she always does, but along with a new speaker this time, Speaker Mike Johnson. Of course, it was Kevin McCarthy a year ago. It was House Speaker Nancy Pelosi for the first address to a joint session of Congress. There, he's likely waving to his wife at the podium, perhaps
Oh
Mike
my
Johnson
God,
as
so
well. They're both up
cringe.
there together. Martha Raddatz, this is also a House chamber that hasn't always been welcoming. We had that moment last year with
With the
Marjorie Taylor
baboon
Greene.
screeching.
And in particular,
Honestly,
the
his
Republicans
last
in the
State of the
House
Union was his
have really
best speech,
halted a couple
you know?
of key things that the president has
That's what
tried
I
to
think.
accomplish just in recent weeks. Aid to Ukraine looms
Fascist
large. They
symbols.
have halted that, saying you must act on the border first. Then the president encouraged Senate Republicans and Democrats to get that bill in front of them. They prepared it, a bipartisan border bill, very heavy security. He said he was ready to sign it, and then the House torpedoed it.
They torpedoed it because Donald Trump wanted it torpedoed. He wants this to be an election issue. He believes this is his issue and that he can dominate on that issue. And we talk about decorum. Obviously, we see the First Lady coming in there now, David.
If he does, if Mike Johnson tries
Entering the
to rip
chamber
the
here
notes
tonight,
up,
Jill Biden, who
he's gonna like
taken a
fail at being able to
significant
rip
role
the
just in
paper and
recent days
get
now
really
in this
embarrassed. So they
campaign
told
as
him to make sure he doesn't do
She's
that.
going to be out there fighting for her husband too.
She absolutely will.
She's going to be out there fighting for her husband, did they just say?
Behind his race again, 100%. And
Fucking
his most important
weirdos,
top
bro.
surrogate. She is going to be out on the campaign trail heavily, I suspect, in the coming months, David.
Here's the
Is that
gavel
what they
here.
meant on the campaign trail where she's going to be
Speaker
fighting?
Mike Johnson, his first time in this role. Let's listen.
The president's cabinet.
Who cares?
The president's
I don't even know who that first guy
entering the
is.
room. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken.
Oh, there's General
Just to bring
Butt
you back into
Cancer.
This conversation, of course, Secretary Blinken on the world stage and has been for many months now, not only with Israel and Gaza, but with Ukraine.
I love
as
that you
well.
can't even see
And
the
again, a lot
fucking
of questions,
finance
even from within
secretary
their
because she's
own
totally
party about
like
the
just so
humanitarian
small behind
crisis
Blinken
inside
and in front
Gaza,
of
and the
Lloyd.
president is expected to make major
What's her name?
news tonight
Yellen.
on Gaza.
Exactly. And what they want to do is set up a floating dock, a floating pier, so the U.S. can help get aid.
Yeah, if
into
anyone
Gaza
hasn't heard,
from
the
ships
U.S.
to
is literally
deliver
going
this
to build a
very,
dock
very
in
critical
Gaza
aid. People
where
are
they need the
starving
aid to
to
go
death in
because
Gaza.
Israel's
You
just
saw
won't let
Secretary
them fucking
Blinken there.
in.
He has been
They
so
block the
busy. He
roads
has
and
been
shit.
over to the region so many times. We also saw Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin there. We know he had some health problems. He did not tell the president he was in an ICU unit. He has made up for that. He has apologized for that, but they have both been very busy.
Blinken doesn't look like a
with
whip dog
Gaza,
today.
with
That's
Ukraine,
only
and
when
as you
that's
said,
only
that
after he
aid to
talks to
Ukraine
Netanyahu.
has been blocked. The border bill blocked. We talk about decorum, but the president walks
Oh my
in there
God.
with his own red wall of resistance. And this really is the Republicans.
That guy just
fully
stepped on
aware
somebody's
this
shoe.
is a huge event for President Biden. This is almost the beginning of the campaign.
They're
for him.
dragging
So
it out
whether
because it's
they
literally
maintain that
taking him this
decorum or
long
not,
to
we'll
walk
have to
from the
see.
front door.
And the question is,
He's
how
been
will
walking
it be
for 12
received? Any
minutes
kind
now.
of behavior in this room. The American people often judge this with very different eyes. They're not inside the Beltway here in Washington. They're
Bezos.
watching from home. They know this is a deeply
Ted
divided
Cruz.
country. And as we all have heard so often on the trail, a lot of people say, we have a lot more in common than we have that separates us. And often we don't see that in our own lawmakers. So we'll keep that in mind as we move forward and watch this night. Lindsay Davis also with us here at the desk. We're expecting to hear the House Sergeant at Arms any moment, Lindsay, introduce the president. One of the things I know you've been looking into are the independents, the moderate voters, some of the Nikki Haley supporters just this week who seem to give an indication that they're not necessarily going to vote for the Republican nominee automatically.
Independent
Look at how
voters, as
big
you
the
well
federal
know, David,
cabinet is,
determine the
bro.
outcome of elections. We've seen it time and time again.
They're still
in
coming in.
2020, Joe Biden was able to win those independent
Oh,
voters.
they
over in
literally
6
are going to have their
battleground
own
states.
chit-chat
The prior election,
conversations now after the
2016,
cabinet gets
Donald
introduced
Trump
with
was
everyone.
able to win over independent voters in 6 of the battleground states. In particular, tonight, I'm interested in those free
They're
agent
still
Nikki
coming in,
Haley
bro.
voters. And is he going to be able to win them over, perhaps persuade them? Because as you were referencing on Tuesday, we saw
Are these
that
the aides
51%
too?
of them
Like,
said that
what
they
is?
actually approve of Joe Biden. 76% said that they oppose abortion bans. And so they are going to be listening very critically, I would imagine, to what he has to say. And by many stretches of imagination, this is an opening statement for them.
No question about it, Lindsay. And you saw Alejandro Mayorkas, Homeland Security Secretary there moments ago, also in the chamber. And on immigration, a key issue tonight, Republicans, as we have reported here, spent months imploring President Biden to do something on the southern border. Then, of course, as we mentioned with Martha, the bipartisan border security bill, Republicans and Democrats, the president saying, get it to my desk, I will sign it. Only to have House Republicans there in the chamber tonight who halted that bill at Donald Trump's urging. And as Martha points out, that's likely because Donald Trump would like to keep immigration as an issue that is front and center come
Getting
November.
some
Tonight,
serious
Mary
space
Bruce,
laser and
President
Russian
Biden will
space
likely
news
not
tonight
shy
from
away
Joey
from
B.
immigration. It seems he recognizes there's.
I mean, like I said, last year's speech I think was his best speech he ever gave. I think especially it was amplified by the baboons preaching and him able to like riff with that.
And the kind of reforms that Republicans had been demanding for months, but then in stepped Donald Trump, urging Republicans not to take the deal. And of course, we know it has gone nowhere since then. It is interesting, of course, this comes just a week after Donald Trump and Joe Biden were both down at the border together, those dueling visits. President Biden again trying to up the pressure on Republicans to finally act on this issue. Of course, also trying to shift the blame to Republicans and Trump. And he did have that remarkable invitation asking Donald Trump to join him in this. I suspect tonight you will hear him again urge Congress to put politics aside to get this border deal done.
The Attorney General Merrick Garland there as well, who has also been a key figure in this administration, under fire from some, given the investigations into Donald Trump, but has made the case that he has done this in an independent fashion. He has stayed far from the special counsels and all of these cases that are hard to track for people at home, I'm sure. He's there in the chamber as well. As you heard Rachel Scott point out, a number of white suits in the chamber tonight. Many of the Democratic lawmakers are wearing them, signal on reproductive rights. The president putting the blame on Donald Trump in recent days.
They can just keep recycling
the justices to the Supreme Court
every 3 minutes.
Roe.
Oh, look, he's non-binary.
The president says are the ripple effects already being seen across
what
the
that
country.
means,
Of course,
right?
the debate in Alabama.
No,
that one is days, that
whatever.
State's highest
What's
court determining
pansexual? I
that
don't know what
frozen
that one is.
embryos are in fact
bisexual.
people. Clinics and hospitals in Alabama almost immediately halting IVF fertility treatments, the procedures right when women and their husbands
the worst
and
part about
families
this,
were in the middle of this process,
like,
and there has been a move across this country almost
the
not
deals
only in
that they were
Alabama,
vetoing
but
are
moving
now
forward in several
what
other
they're
states,
asking for in
to
these
protect women
negotiations
from,
now.
this
And I think
discomfort
that's
moving
really
forward.
just
And also in
like,
that
what are you
chamber
doing?
tonight,
Just
Rachel
like,
Scott, you
just
spoke
do,
with
I
a young
hate
woman,
them.
a
I hate
mother
all
and
of them,
wife in
honestly.
Texas, who became the center of a major national story when doctors determined, and let's listen here at the door. We'll get back to you in a moment.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
There you have the moment. Bill McFarland, House Sergeant at Arms, introducing President
Chuck is behind him.
with his State of the Union address.
That ghoul. Here we go. Did he just say, he pointed to his name tag? What was that? Is that a certain like protest sticker he's got?
Escorting him down that center aisle as he shakes hands with members of both parties, I should say. And
oh my God, they're literally pulling him away from the Republicans now.
This is the kind of moment that fuels this particular president.
This is always a big moment, a big television.
Oh my
audience,
God,
all the
this is so
pomp and
weird.
Circumstance. But the truth is, State of the Union addresses are often little noted and long remembered. They don't have a lasting impact. This one, David, tonight, it really feels different. He has a chance to prove to a skeptical country that he has what it takes, that he has the physical fitness, the mental fitness to go head to head in a very brutal, long campaign with Donald Trump and to serve another 5 years as president. So this feels like an incredibly consequential moment, especially also because of how late it is. It's March 7th. It's just after Super Tuesday. Rarely do you see, ever in my lifetime, you've seen a State of the Union address that actually doubles as effectively the kickoff for a presidential campaign.
And you mentioned
the Speaker of the House actually picks when the State of the Union address happens. So Speaker Johnson strategically picked after Super Tuesday.
And we've seen it in the polling. Americans across the country who say we don't want either one of these men running for president. We want other choices.
I mean,
and yet this is where the country is
anything
right
exists
now,
in our imagination.
which makes the stakes even higher tonight for him to try to convince some of those moderate independent voters that Lindsay was talking about, who he brought over before.
What
The
is
question
that?
Would he be able to do it again?
You have a
I mean,
hat
you have
on
upwards of
inside in
70%
Congress. Come
of the
on,
American
have some
public
respect
saying
for yourself.
that they don't want
And she's
the
going to screech
rematch
at him. Look, they're
that
all
they're about
holding
to have.
Israel
They
pins.
don't want to see.
Look, this guy,
Biden,
you
Trump
got to
yet
press
again.
record.
Marjorie
I think
Taylor
they were
Greene
just
there
taking
wearing
pictures,
her
actually.
Make America Great hat and holding up the pin. We had an idea that Republicans in the House chamber, John, would have pins tonight.
Yep,
He didn't even
pins,
look at him.
highlighting what they're calling Biden's failed
Yes, kiss the
policy
boys.
at the border.
Kiss the boys now.
Look, state of the decorum issue. so much has changed. I mean, I've been in the chamber for about a
Nobody
dozen
gives a fuck
of
about
these
Chuck
things, and
Schumer. So
I
he's
fully
sitting there with his
remember
hands in his
when
pocket.
Barack Obama had a big joint session speech on
I mean, come on, like
healthcare, and
take
one
that
single
shit off
member yelled
inside.
out, "You lie."
Have some
And it was
self-respect, you
It
know?
was this scandal.
It's
How
like
could
fucking
somebody
bringing in a fucking
and now
billboard.
every member is using this as an opportunity to make a moment for themselves.
You know, it sent
No, it's
shockwaves
Marjorie
back then,
Taylor
and
Greene.
and
Of
should have.
course
You
it
know,
is.
that was
That's
Yes.
her,
It
right?
was
I
Blake
can't
Money.
tell
It was
because
a
of the
single
fucking
member.
hat
Yeah,
casting his
unfortunately,
shadow
now
on her
it's become
face.
a little more of the norm than not.
Oh, there he
Marjorie
goes.
Taylor
Now
Greene
he's looking
talking
at
with
her.
the president right now. Somebody there tapping the president on the shoulder, Martha Raddatz, and saying, "Keep moving."
Keep moving. But
Don't
he
give
certainly
the
wasn't
baboon
letting Marjorie
attention.
Taylor Greene
I want to
bother
know what
him.
she
I think
said.
we talked
That's
about
what I
the
care
time. I think
about, not all
wearing
this
Make
other
America
bullshit.
Great hat is putting decorum aside right away. But in so many ways, and we talk about this is not only the State of the Union, this is the state of Joe Biden, because that's what everybody's going to be
shut up.
looking at tonight. How does Joe Biden handle this? Is he
Look at you.
vigorous?
You're
Does
so
he have the mental acuity that everybody's looking for? Last year, as we sat here, he gave a very powerful speech, got good marks for
Selfie.
that. But again, this is a
Nice, bro.
very different speech at a very different
Selfie
moment when
time.
voters are really, really looking at the president, both Democrats and Republicans.
Oh, come
Look at
on.
this. This is a patient president at
This
this point
reminds.
too. He's
Okay, so
taking a
there's
number of
this funny.
selfies on
There's
his way.
this funny thing. It's with this Assad school. Like I forgot her names, but she's like she makes this post. It's just Assad like holding his arms up to take a selfie, and she's like, "Assad is so charismatic. This guy wanted so badly to take a picture with Assad. So what does Assad do? He takes his phone and takes the selfie." Oh, she's also be like, "Yeah, but he couldn't do it because Assad is so tall." And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, he's not gonna fuck you. You know that, right?
To run as a third-party candidate or an independent candidate, John. He said the stakes were too high.
Stakes were too high, and Democrats firmly believe that a third-party candidacy.
I have no idea,
re-elects
actually.
or elects once again.
I only know the
Donald
one guy,
Trump.
and I know his face and not
looking
name.
at Biden here, you've got to consider. I haven't been able to go back and count each and every one, but I believe this may be his 50th State of the Union address that he's been in the chamber.
And he would be proud of that, by the
Yes.
way. Senator
This is
Coons
home
there.
turf.
Senator Coons, Senator Gillibrand, Republicans and Democrats welcoming here to the center aisle. We always like to see that. Rachel Scott, you're in the chamber. So far, so good.
So far, so good, David. So far. And look here, the coveted seats here are along the aisles. That's where you're seeing members sort of rush to the aisles to try and greet the President of the United States. Notable on the Republican side, you saw some of the most conservative, right-wing
22
members
minutes.
of the House. Congressman
Speech
Matt
still hasn't
Gaetz,
started yet.
Congressman Tim Burchett.
See?
Congresswoman
Oh, look,
Marjorie
he's so
Taylor Greene
charismatic, just like
trying to
Bashar al-Assad.
get the president's attention, to shake his hand, possibly deliver a message that they want the president to share tonight. You're hearing these chants now of 4 more years from Democrats tonight. A very stark reminder at what the president is heading into this critical election year. What is at stake? This is very much also about making an appeal to the American people in a very critical election year where he will be likely facing off
This
against
lady
former President Donald
so
Trump, David.
weird.
Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson there, greeting the Chief Justice John Roberts as well with President Biden. Of course, they have a major decision, Justice Kagan there as well, a major decision looming here. In the next couple of weeks, they'll begin hearing arguments in Donald Trump's federal January 6th case, the election interference case, and whether or not he has absolute immunity. Judge Gorsuch, Judge Kavanaugh, both with smiles on their faces, greeting the president.
That
as we
lady
would
has
expect.
3 cameras.
But it's always nice to see in these deeply polarized moments in our country when so far things play out the way they're supposed to. There you see the former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and we'll stick with the president here, but we did see Nancy Pelosi talking with Mitch McConnell just before we came on the air tonight. Sort of a signal there, John Carl, of a changing guard. Nancy Pelosi obviously out of the speakership for a time now, and Mitch McConnell revealing that he will step down this week.
I mean, what a changing of a guard, seeing the two of them, really two of the most powerful figures in Congress.
Think what this
over the last
speech needs is
half-century.
some profanity.
McConnell and Pelosi,
you know, because
both
like if
making
he's
their
bringing
marks in huge
profanity to
ways.
the State of the Union,
Pelosi with healthcare,
that's going to show
and
he's
with,
even more edgy than Trump.
All that President Biden got through Congress in his first 2 years. Mitch McConnell, the longest Senate leader in history, 17 years.
And it was nice to see McConnell and Pelosi engaged with one another, you know, in
They had a
heavy
good
discussion.
Drink every time you
And by the way,
whisper,
they were
goes.
together on January 6th as the Capitol was attacked, and they were evacuated.
Oh my
working to get
God.
Congress back
We
in
need to talk
session
about October
and
7th next.
Start the certification of the
You
presidential election
famously
that Trump
said
supporters were trying to
that
stop.
the name Fredo
Yeah.
was like the N word for Italians.
Yes, that was a mistake.
You
It's off the
famously
record
said
today that, you know,
that
my own
that
staff
the
knows I
name
feel
Fredo
very much at home up on the Hill.
And that shows here tonight, absolutely. And they think that that is something
Was
that will
also at
also
half
play
audio,
to his
too.
strengths here as he does deliver what is expected to be a very, very important speech for you.
Let's listen as Speaker Mike Johnson plays
Julie
his role.
fell out. I only have one in. That's why my headphones felt funny.
Handing the Speaker a speech, handing the Vice President the State of the Union address as well.
Okay. Ah, fascist symbols. I do think he's one of the best smilers out of all the presidents. Look at him. He hates it. He's trying to get order of his house. Nobody listened. They just kept clapping. He's literally cucking him. He said he's applause cucking him in his own chamber.
Smart. I go home now. Mr. Speaker, Madam Vice President, members of Congress, my fellow Americans. In January 1941, Franklin Roosevelt came to this chamber to speak to the nation. And he said, I address you at a moment unprecedented.
Why
in
is
the
he
history of the
dressing them
Union.
up?
Hitler was on the march. War was
Oh
raging
my
in
God.
Europe.
Please say Trump is
President
Hitler.
Roosevelt's purpose was to wake up Congress and alert the American people that this was no ordinary time. Freedom and democracy were under assault in the world. Tonight, I come to this same chamber to address the nation. Now,
I'm
we who
FDR.
face an unprecedented moment in the history of the Union. And yes, my purpose tonight is to wake up the Congress and alert the American people that
When are
this
you
is
waking
no
up?
ordinary moment either. Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War.
Oh, I was like, is he going to mention Lincoln next? And I didn't say it. I
As they are
should have.
today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas at the very same time. Overseas, Putin of Russia is on the march.
Fuck yes.
Invading Ukraine and sowing chaos throughout Europe and beyond. If anybody in this room thinks Putin will stop at Ukraine, I assure you he will not. But Ukraine,
Let's go.
Ukraine can stop Putin. Ukraine can stop Putin if we stand with Ukraine and provide the weapons that needs to defend itself. That is all. That is all Ukraine is asking. They're not asking for American soldiers. In fact, there are no American soldiers at war in Ukraine, and I'm determined to keep it that way. But now, assistance to Ukraine is being blocked
By
those
this
who wanna
asshole
walk
behind
away
me.
From our world leadership. Wasn't long ago when a Republican president named Ronald Reagan thundered, "Mr. Gorbachev,
Tear down the wall.
tear down this wall."
Epic. Bro.
Now,
We're invoking all the best leaders today, I guess.
now my predecessor, a former Republican president. Загорбачова! That's a quote. A former president actually said that bowing down to a Russian leader, I think it's outrageous, it's dangerous, and it's unacceptable. America is a founding member of NATO. The
You are
military
NATO, bro.
alliance of democratic nations.
It's the EU military if
created after
you
World War
leave.
II to prevent war.
That's
Peace.
probably the dumbest part of
Today,
wanting to leave
we made
NATO
NATO
is
stronger than ever.
you're
Welcome
basically saying
Finland to the
EU is getting
alliance
its own
last
army
year.
now. Like you're literally making a competitor, like from the American
Sweden
state
officially
perspective,
joined,
obviously.
And
Like
their
I don't
ministers
really
here
give a fuck
tonight. We're going to stand up.
if the EU has an army.
Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh yeah, Sweden is there right now. I forgot. I just was looking at that.
And they know how to fight. Mr. Prime Minister, welcome to NATO, the strongest military alliance the world has ever
Defensive
seen.
cartel.
I say this to Congress. We have to stand up to Putin. Send me a bipartisan national security bill. History is literally watching. History is watching. If the United States walks away, it will put Ukraine at risk. Europe is at risk. The free world will be at risk.
Ukraine is already at risk. They're literally under invasion, bro.
My message to President Putin, who I've known for a long time, is simple. We will not walk away. We will not bow down. I will not bow down. In a literal sense, history is watching. History is watching. Just like history watched 3 years ago on January 6th. When insurrectionists stormed this very Capitol and placed a dagger to the throat of American democracy. Many of you are here on that darkest of days. We all saw with our own eyes the insurrectionists were not patriots. They'd come to stop the peaceful transfer of power, to overturn the will of the people. January 6th lies about the 2020 election and the plots to steal the election posed a gravest threat to U.S. democracy since the Civil War. But they failed.
Put in the Castro. Bro, you're drooling. Yeah, right? He's like, yeah, bro, I was watching like Hassan to preview some stuff, and he made this joke like it would be really like it could get real funny if one of the fucking guys running died.
The threat to democracy must be defended. My predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th. I will not do that. This is the moment to speak the truth and to bury the lies. Here's the simple truth. You can't love your country only when you win. As I've done ever since being elected to office, I ask all of you without regard to party to join together and defend democracy. Remember your oath of office of defending against all threats, foreign and domestic. Respect free and fair elections, restore trust in our institutions, and make clear political violence has absolutely no place in America, zero place.
Kind of founded on political violence there, pal. But as long as it's not against the politicians, is what he means.
It's not hyperbole to suggest history is watching. We're watching. Your children and grandchildren will read about this day and what we do. History is watching another assault on freedom. Joining us tonight is Latoya Beasley, a social worker from Birmingham, Alabama. 14 months ago, she and her husband welcomed a baby girl thanks to the miracle of IVF. She scheduled treatments to have that second child.
Right next to the first
The Alabama
lady.
Supreme Court shut down IVF treatments across the state, unleashed by a Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade. She was told her dream would have to wait. What her family had got through should never have happened. Unless Congress acts, it could happen again. So tonight, let's stand up for families like hers. To my friends across the aisle, don't keep this waiting any longer.
Yeah, like I said, normally his State of the Union is okay compared to like he did a really good speech under a bridge that I think was also really good. They hype him up before this, you know. They put a bag of meth right up his ass.
Like most Americans, I believe Roe v. Wade got it right. I thank Vice President Harris for being an incredible leader, defending reproductive freedom and so much more. Thank you. My predecessor came to office determined to see Roe v. Wade overturned. He's the reason it was overturned, and he brags about it. Look at the chaos that has resulted. Joining us tonight is Kate Cox, the wife and mother from Dallas. She's become pregnant again and had a fetus of a fatal condition. Her doctor told Kate that her own life and her ability to have children in the future were at risk if she didn't act. Because Texas law banned her ability to act, Kate and her husband had to leave the state to get what she needed. What her family got through should have never happened as well, but it's happening in too many others.
Oh my God! What is that thing next to
the
her?
Freedom to choose, criminalizing
Swamp
doctors,
monster.
forcing survivors of
Was that
rape and
fucking
incest
swamp thing?
to leave their states to get the treatment they need. Many of you in this chamber and my predecessor are promising to pass a national ban on reproductive freedom. My God, what freedom else would you take away? Look,
everything.
It's a decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. The Supreme Court majority wrote the following, and with all due respect, justices, women are not without electoral power. Electoral or political power. You're about to realize just how much you're right about that.
Yeah, that's all I hear. So what's one of the things like when I'm editing stuff, that's a lot of things that I look for is like those types of like mouth noises, right? So like, it's like squeaky shoes on a basketball court. When I hear someone slurping like that, it real gets under me quick.
Clearly, those bragging about overturning Roe v. Wade have no clue about the power of women. But they found out when reproductive freedom was on the ballot. We won in 2022 and 2020, and we'll win again in 2024. If you, the American people, send me a Congress that supports the right to choose, I promise you, I'll restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again.
That's cool, because he acknowledged that it literally is up to Congress, not him. Send me a Congress. I'll make sure. No, Congress will make sure, bro. They're the ones who write it.
Cannot go back. I'm here tonight to show what I believe is the way forward, because I know how far we come. 4 years ago next week, before I came to office, the country was hit by the worst pandemic and the worst economic crisis in a century. Remember the fear? Record losses?
No, people have moved on.
Remember the spikes in crime and the murder rate, raging virus that took more than 1 million American lives?
People have moved
loved
on.
Ones, millions left behind. A mental health crisis of isolation and loneliness. A president, my predecessor, failed the most basic presidential duty that he owes to American people, the duty to care. I think that's unforgivable. I came to office determined to get us through one of the toughest periods in the nation's history. We have. It doesn't make news in 1,000 cities and towns. The American people are writing the greatest comeback story never told.
Got to cough after every sentence, bro.
Tell it here and now. America's comeback is building the future of American possibilities Building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down.
Oh, he still got that
Investing
line.
in all America, in all Americans, to make sure everyone has a fair shot. We leave no one behind. The pandemic no longer controls our lives. The vaccine that saved us from COVID are now being used to beat cancer, turning setback into comeback. That's what America does. That's what America does. Folks, I inherited economy is on the brink. Now our economy is literally the envy of the world. 15 million new jobs in just 3 years, a record, a record.
Yeah, because of COVID.
Unemployment.
Restoring jobs
At
that
50
existed
year
before
low.
COVID.
A record 16 million Americans are starting small businesses, and each one is a literal act of hope.
Hey, that's us.
With historic job growth and small business growth for Black and Hispanics and Asian Americans, 800,000 new manufacturing jobs in America and counting.
Is he going to mention infrastructure?
Manufacturing capital.
You going to mention your infrastructure bill, bro?
More people have health insurance today. More people have health insurance today than ever before.
Mm-hmm. Should be free.
The racial wealth gap is as small as it's been in 20 years. Wages keep going up. Inflation keeps coming down. Inflation has dropped from 9% to 3%, the lowest
don't
in the
know
world,
what that means.
and tending lower.
Their groceries still are the same price than when it did raise.
The landing is and will be soft. And now, instead of importing foreign products and exporting American jobs, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs right here in America, where they belong. And it takes time, but the American people are beginning to feel it. Consumer studies show consumer confidence is soaring. Buy America has been the law of the land since the 1930s. Past administrations, including my predecessor, including some Democrats as well in the past, failed to buy American. Not anymore. On my watch, federal projects that you fund, like helping build American roads, bridges, and highways, will be made with American products and built by American workers.
See? Proving me right. People don't know what that means. Thank you for showing me that you don't know what that means.
American job.
Uh-huh.
And thanks to our
Lowering
Chips and
inflation
Science
does not
Act,
mean cost of
the
goods
United
go down.
States is investing more in research and development than ever before. During the pandemic, a shortage of semiconductors, chips, that drove up the price of everything from cell phones to automobiles. And by the way, we invented those chips right here in America. Well, instead of having to import them, private companies are now investing billions of dollars to build new chip factories here in America, creating tens of thousands of jobs.
Now you gotta mention your
Many of those
infrastructure bill.
jobs paying $100,000 a year and don't require a college degree. In fact, my policies have attracted $650 billion in private sector investment in clean energy, advanced manufacturing, creating tens of thousands of jobs here in America. And thanks to our bipartisan infrastructure law, 46,000 new projects have been announced all across your communities. And by the way, I noticed some of you strongly voted against it, or they're cheering on that money coming in. I like it. I'm with you. I'm with you. If any of you don't want that money in your district, just let me know. Modernize our roads and bridges, ports and airports, public transit systems. Removing poisonous lead pipes so every child can drink clean water without risk of brain damage.
Without risk of brain damage, like me.
Providing affordable high-speed internet for every American, no matter where you live, urban, suburban, or rural communities, in red states and blue states. Record investments in tribal communities. Because of my investment in a family farm, Because I'm invested in family farms led by my Secretary of Agriculture, who knows more about this than anybody I know. We're better able to stay in the family for those farms and their children and grandchildren won't have to leave home to make a living. It's transformative. The great comeback story is Belvedere, Illinois, home to an auto plant for nearly 60 years. Before I came to office, the plant was on its way to shutting down. Thousands of workers feared for their livelihoods. Hope was fading. Then I was elected to office and we raised the Belvedere repeatedly with auto companies knowing unions would make all the difference. The UAW worked like hell to keep the plant open and get these jobs back, and together we succeeded. Instead of auto factories shutting down, auto factories reopening, and new state-of-the-art battery factories being built to power those cars there at the same.
He's trailing off. He's losing it. They need to get in there and shove another bag of meth up his ass.
The folks at Belvedere, I say, instead of your town being left behind, your community is moving forward again. Because instead of watching auto jobs of the future go over 4,000 union jobs.
He been spitting.
Are building the future in Belvedere right here in America.
Mr. Belvedere. Oh, that's the auto guy.
Is UAW President Sean Fain, a great friend and a great labor.
Anytime he says that, I think Sinn Fein.
And Dawn Sims, a third generation worker, UAW worker at Belvedere. Sean, I was proud to be the first president to stand on the picket line. And today, Dawn has a good job in her hometown, providing stability for her family and pride and dignity as well. Showing once again, Wall Street didn't build America.
Considering we used to have these corporations shoot pictures.
The middle class built the country.
And that was legal with their own military.
Built the middle class. I say to the American people, when America gets knocked down, we get back up. We keep going.
America doesn't get knocked down, bro. What are you talking about? Are you talking about what? The World Trade Centers when they got knocked down?
That's you, the American people.
It's the only thing that's been knocked down.
It's because of you America's coming back. It's because of you our future is brighter. It's because of you that tonight we can proudly say the state of our union is strong and getting stronger.
And gay. Strong and gay.
We are both brain broken because that's what I thought too.
Yeah, I heard it.
Cringe.
Tonight, I want to talk about the future of possibilities that we can build together. A future where the days of trickle-down economics are over and the wealthy and the biggest corporations no longer get all the tax breaks. And by the way, I understand corporations. I come from a state that has more corporations invested than every one of your states in the state of the United States combined. And I represented it for 36 years. I'm not anti-corporation, but I grew up in a home where trickle-down economics didn't put much on my dad's kitchen table. That's why I determined to turn things around so the middle class does well. When they do well, the poor go way up and the wealthy still do very well. We all do well. And there's more to do to make sure you're feeling the benefits of all we're doing. Americans pay more for prescription drugs than anywhere in the world.
Yep, we knew
it's
this
wrong,
was going to happen.
And I'm ending it.
Good.
Just legalize free healthcare.
There's a law.
Oh, somebody had a Ukraine flag like draped over them. Kind of cringe.
Not one of your Republican buddies voted for it. We finally beat Big Pharma. Instead of paying $400 a month or thereabouts for
MTG yelling, I
insulin
think.
with diabetes, and it only costs $10 to make, they only get paid $35 a month.
Do you see MTG is in a MAGA hat?
I saw it in someone mentioned in the chat, but I wasn't looking when it came up.
I want to cap
Yeah, you'll see her when it goes to the crowd. She's wearing all red with a fucking hat on.
Everyone.
My screen is completely dimmed because what I'm doing is very illegal in Minecraft, of course.
People have talked about it, but finally we got it done and gave Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices on prescription drugs, just like the VA is able to do for veterans. That's not just saving seniors money, it's saving taxpayers money. We cut the federal deficit by $160 billion.
Destroyed West and South Asia.
Because Medicare will no longer have to pay those exorbitant prices to Big Pharma. This year, Medicare is negotiating lower prices for some of the costliest drugs on the market that treat everything from heart disease to arthritis. It's now time to go further and give Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for 500 different drugs over the next decade.
Sounds good to me. They should start with insulin.
Money, guys.
Yeah, that's actually the first thing that he did, is insulin.
It'll be extremely profitable. Well, not only
Good, because if it's something you're born with,
taxpayers another $200 billion.
Go on.
Ability at that point.
Next year, the same law caps total prescription drug costs for seniors on Medicare at $2,000 a
The
year.
insulin thing. I'm trying to
Even
think
for
what I was gonna
expensive
say.
cancer drugs that cost $10,000, $12,000, $15,000.
Oh, they were asking.
I
Remember,
wanna
we were
cap
watching
prescription drug
something,
costs
and
at
it was somebody
$2,000
saying
a
that they
year for
pay
everyone.
a percentage of the same drug in Canada, and they still make a profit.
Yeah. It was us. Yeah. He was saying that they definitely still make a profit, but they charge.
Yeah.
I think it was 1,400% more.
I mean, excuse me.
Insane.
And, well, even Moscow, probably.
Ah.
Deal.
What happened? Get this out of here. I actually fast forwarded a little because I paused earlier and I clicked live, but that's fine.
Over 100 million of you can no longer be denied health insurance because of pre-existing condition. Well, my predecessor, and many in this chamber, want to take this prescription drug away by repealing the Affordable Care Act.
Wait, is this Jack character development? You don't think fat people should just go bankrupt?
We stopped you 50 times before it will stop you again.
That's not what I said.
In fact, I'm not only protecting it, I'm expanding it.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Tax credits of $800 per person
tax
per
credits.
year reduce healthcare costs for millions of working families.
Good.
That tax credit expires next year.
And it
I want
will.
to make that savings permanent.
It's so crazy that they have the speaker behind there to
Women are
show
more
that
than
he's
half our
pro
population.
starving children.
But research on women's
Because
health
he can't
has
clap
always
because
been
it will be
underfunded.
bad form for the
That's why we're
Republicans
launching
to
the
applaud
first ever
something
White House
Biden
initiative
did.
on women's health research, led by Jill.
It's
Doing
very
an
funny.
Incredible job as First Lady.
Oh, she's touching Swamp Thing. Swamp Monster.
It passed my plan for $12 billion to transfer women's health research and benefit millions of lives all across America. I know the cost of housing is so important to you. If inflation keeps coming down, mortgage rates will come down as well, and the Fed acknowledges that. But I'm not waiting. I want to provide an annual tax credit.
Fuck the Fed.
That will give Americans $400 a month for the next 2 years as mortgage rates come down, to put toward their mortgages when they buy their first home or trade up
Buy
for a
their
little
first
more
home.
space. Just for 2 years.
He was definitely open strong, and now he's fallen off.
And my administration
Yeah, his
is
perks
also
are running off.
eliminating title insurance on federally backed mortgages. When you refinance your home, you can save $1,000 or more as a consequence. For millions of renters, we're cracking down on big landlords who use antitrust law, who break antitrust laws.
Nice.
By price fixing and driving up rents. We've cut red tape so builders can get federally financing, which is already helping build a record 1.7 million new housing units nationwide. Now pass. Now pass and build and renovate 2 million affordable homes and bring those rents down.
It sounds pretty good.
The rent is too damn high.
To remain the strongest economy in the world, we need to have the best education system in the world. And I suspect all
Education reforms?
Want to give every child, a good start by providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. You know, I think I pointed out last year.
Boo.
That children coming from broken homes where there's no books, they're not read to, not spoken to very often, start school, kindergarten, or first grade, having heard 1 million fewer words spoken. Well, studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more
That's a
likely to finish
fucking
high
wild
school,
statistic.
to earn a 2 and 4 year degree, no matter what their background is.
I dozed off. Republicans love when children are starved and sexually assaulted. True.
I met a year and a half ago with the leaders of the Business Roundtable. They were mad that they were angry.
They won't do that, though.
Discussing
Zoning laws getting loosened? Hell no.
why I wanted to spend money on education. I pointed out to them as vice president, I met with over 182 of those folks. Don't hold me to the exact number. And I asked them what they need most, the CEOs. And you've had the same experience on both sides of the aisle. They say a better educated workforce, right? So I looked at them and I say, I come from Delaware. DuPont used to be the 8th largest corporation in the world. And every new enterprise they bought, they educated the workforce to that enterprise. But none of you do that anymore.
Boo, DuPont, boo.
Providing you the opportunity for the best educated workforce in the world. And they all looked at me and said, I think you're right. I want to expand high quality tutoring and summer learning to see that every child learns to read by 3rd grade. I'm also connecting local businesses and high schools so students get hands-on experience and a path to good paying job, whether or not they go to college. And I want to make sure the college is more affordable.
Local businesses can
Let's
recruit
continue
right out of high
increasing the
school.
Pell Grants to working and middle-class families and increase
QT classes start being taught in
HBCUs
kindergarten.
and minority-serving institutions, including Hispanic institutions.
Frankenstein.
When I was told I couldn't universally
Did it,
just
Jack?
change the way in which we dealt with student loans, I fixed 2 student loan programs that already existed to reduce the burden of student debt for nearly 4 million Americans, including nurses, firefighters, and others in public service. Like Keenan Jones, a public educator from Minnesota, who's here with us tonight. Keenan, where are you? Keenan, thank you. He's educated hundreds of students so they can go to college. Now he's able to help, after debt forgiveness, get his own daughter to college. And folks, look,
I mean, at the end of the day, this is just his campaign speech.
such relief is good for
No, that's what this is.
folks are
That's
now
what
able
Yeah,
to
like,
buy
so
a
this is
this
pretty
is
much
like-
everything I expected.
Yeah, so this is like the first big speech
While we're
that
at
he'll
it,
get before the
I want the
elections.
public
But
school
what you need to
teachers
keep
a
in mind is
raise.
Johnson picks the date of this speech, right? So he thought it would be strategically popular. to
Yeah,
do it after
I heard
Super
you.
Tuesday.
I heard you explaining this on because I was watching.
Hmm.
So I heard you explain that. So yeah,
By the way,
it
the
makes
first
sense that
company
they
to
would
cut
strategically
deficit.
place it after Super
Now,
Tuesday.
let me
It
speak
makes
to the
sense.
question of fundamental fairness for all
But
Americans.
he's doing pretty well.
I've been delivering real results in fiscally responsible ways. We've already cut the federal deficit. We've already cut the federal deficit over $1 trillion.
Never.
I signed the bipartisan deal to cut another $1 trillion in the next decade.
No, they
It's
keep
my
making
goal to
Lloyd
cut the
stand
federal
up and
deficit
down
under
and,
$3
you
trillion
know,
by
keep
making
sitting
big
back down on
corporations
his
very
butt
wealthy,
cancer.
finally beginning to pay their fair share.
Mike Johnson has like been so smug and rolling his eyes behind him.
Look, I'm a capitalist. You want to make or can make a million or millions of
Okay,
bucks,
Nancy
that's great.
Pelosi.
Just pay your fair share of taxes.
Well, I agree with paying taxes to the
A
billionaires.
fair tax code is how we invest things to make this country great. Healthcare, education, defense, and so much more. But here's the deal. The last administration enacted a $2 trillion tax cut, overwhelmingly benefit the topping 1%, the very wealthy and the biggest corporations, and exploded the federal deficit. They added more to the national debt than any presidential term in American history. Check the numbers. Folks at home, does anybody really think the tax code is fair? Do you really think the wealthy and big corporations need another $2 trillion
It's funny
tax
when
break?
Mike Johnson has to bite his lip behind him.
I sure don't. I'm going to keep fighting like hell to make it fair. Under my plan, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay additional penny in federal taxes. Nobody, not one penny. And they haven't yet.
Kamala is a good hype man, I gotta say.
The child
Hype
tax
woman.
bill that I passed
Gotta
during
be
the pandemic
progressive,
cut
right?
Taxes for millions of working families and cut child poverty in half. Restore that child tax credit. No child should go hungry in this country.
Whenever Joe says something vaguely social democratic, I imagine that North Korean news
To make
host
big
is gassing
corporations
him
and
up.
very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Remember in 2020, 55 of the biggest companies in America made $40 billion and paid zero in federal
Crazy
income
that an
tax.
actual
Zero.
dominionist is behind
Not
this
anymore.
guy.
Thanks to the law I wrote and we signed,
You know
big
what? I
companies
realize
have
people
to pay
can't
a
see him
minimum of
biting his lips
15%.
since Jack joined.
But that's still less than working people pay in federal taxes. It's time to raise corporate minimum tax to at least 21%.
Look, there he goes, biting his lip.
So
There's MTG with her mega hat.
begins to pay their fair share. I also want to end
I
tax
missed it
breaks for
again.
big pharma, big oil, private jets.
Oh, you'll
massive
see it
executive
after
pay
it
when it's only
in
supposed to be
photos.
$1 million that could be deducted. They can pay them $20 million if they want, but deduct $1 million. End it now. You know, there are 1,000 billionaires in America. You know what the average federal tax is for those billionaires? No. They're making great sacrifices, 8.2%. That's far less than the vast majority of Americans pay. No billionaire should pay a lower federal tax rate than a teacher, a sanitation worker, or a nurse.
I think that's a pretty fair statement. Most people will agree with that.
I propose
Oh, I keep on saying, like, what do I keep seeing out of this? And it's this guy with his
25%.
cane. It's the one guy
You know
who
what that
took a
would
selfie
raise?
with him.
That would raise $500
He
billion
keeps standing up and
over the next
raising
10
his cane,
years.
which is kind
And
of
imagine what that could do
weird,
for America.
considering that at one point
Imagine
someone
the
was beat
future
to death with a cane in
affordable
this
child
chamber.
care. Millions of families can get.
That is
they
very
need to go
true.
to
That is
work
very,
to
very
grow
true.
the economy.
I
Imagine
think
the
I'm going to
future
bail though. I
paid
got to go.
because
Okay.
no one should have to choose
I'll
between
catch you guys later.
working and taking care of their sick family member.